Okay, and just double check. Okay. All right. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Cut. Thank you guys so much for joining for my 11th episode. And right now, I'm joined with my friend Kelly. Kelly, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yes, my name is Kelly Bazan. I'm originally from Peru. I have been here in the United States for, oh goodness, maybe 20 years or so. It's kind of very, it all happens so fast.
Mhm.
Currently, I hold different titles, which I enjoy. So now I've been calling myself I'm a professional dreamer because I have been just going after my dreams, whether it's something in the creative aspect or as a farmer, as an educator, whatever it is. So yeah.
That's great. I think all of us should be dreamers. What is it about? I've seen a lot of your farming content. What made you want to get into that?
Well, I was very lucky to be raised in a homestead. So that's just always been second nature to me. There are family stories in which I would always hang out with animals. I will have more animal friends than human friends. And they just brought me always peace. And so moving here, I felt like I had to have the same thing, because they helped me stay grounded. So
Mm.
yeah, that's how it started. I had that background. So yeah, gives me happy and feeling at peace.
Yeah, that's great. I think I've always wanted a pet. Um, my I always wanted a dog. That that never happened. But probably when I'll move out, I'll probably get a dog. But yeah, I've noticed that you have. How many horses do you have?
Currently, I have only one. I had up to three at one point, but and they're all rescues. But when I got them, they were already seniors and they had some health challenges. So I knew from the beginning that they were going to spend the last years here with me.
Okay.
And that was such a beautiful experience and pretty blessed that I was the one who was there with them till the very last moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, it meant a lot. It was painful, but at the same time, it brought so much peace, as if it happened any other way. So, but yeah, I'm a horse person too. So I still have one more horse, and she also keeps me grounded. And she's teaching me how to be patient. I thought I was a patient person, but she's teaching me there's more to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I remember when I was a kid, I used to do physical therapy and occupational therapy, and part of physical therapy was doing horseback riding. And so I mean, I was so young when I did it, but I remember still to this day that I rode a mom and a son. The mom's name was Snowflake, and the son's name was Lightning, and I don't know why I remember that, but that'll always stick out to me because my mom always took pictures of when I did that, and just even the memory of riding those horses was always so fun because I really did feel like a cowboy, so that was cool.
Oh, I love that so much. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I bet it's very freeing because, there's there's a special connection that you develop with the horse.
Hmm.
Because there's a sense of trust. They are not sure. They usually are the ones who like to feel in control. But if you give them that reassurance that everything's going to be okay, that you know what you're doing, then they're going to trust you. They're going to rely on you to guide them through the right paths and whatnot. Because horses tend to be very, very spooky. So, or
Hmm.
get spooked up really fast. So, but when you establish that trust, and you might remember that you first start by doing groundwork,
Hmm.
like, on the ground, you start brushing your horse and maybe talking to them. Depends on, the style of the one who trained you, but it all starts on the ground. You develop that friendship, that connection, and then
Yeah.
later on it gets carried on, when you ride your horse. So it's such a
Yeah.
beautiful experience, very freeing, and they're very and at least with my horse right now, because she was a rescue, and I got her from a SPCA, and she was found in such a malnourished situation. They found that she had just given birth, but they never found the colt. So when I went to
Oh,
SPCA, yeah, it was very sad, and supposedly for what they told me, they had it looked like they had used her just for breeding. So
mm,
she had no trust with humans, when they found her. So she was pretty skittish, and she would kick and whatnot. So when I went to this PCA, I had been saving my money to get myself a riding horse, because the horses that I had in the moment, they were not suitable to be ridden. I just wanted to save their lives, but I was like, but I want to have my riding horse. So I saved money and all that. And when I went there, I just happened to notice her. And I was like, can I find out more about her? What's her story? And that's when they told me, what had happened to her. And um, interesting enough, in that moment, I just felt cold that, even though she would never be a horse that I could ever ride, she was meant to come home with me. So that's what
mm,
I did. So in that moment, I just gave them, I signed all the adoption paperwork and gave them my money and all that. And yeah, so she's been teaching me to be patient and just celebrate every little milestone that comes the way, and but yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah, horses are
that's
awesome.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I do find it interesting that everybody, I guess every animal has a story too. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, same with humans, and that's something
yeah.
that I've also learned through animals. I feel like if we were just to take a time to listen to everyone's story. I feel like every person, it's like data with a soul, that
Mm,
if we were to just be able to listen, not to reply, but to truly empathize and sympathize, we'll see that everyone has a story that will just bring us to our knees, and there's
yeah.
so much that we can learn from them. So, and that's something that I learn from animals too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting how all that works.
Yeah. I agree. Um, okay. Wow. Um, yeah. Okay. So we can, I guess, pivot a little bit. So what exactly got you into wanting to act?
I think um, part of me, I feel like that might have always been in my heart. I just didn't know exactly what it was. I just remember being a teenager and just sitting different parks and just wanting to watch people's behavior, seeing
Mm,
looking at their body language and trying to understand what they were going through. Um, so I was always intrigued with the whole human behavior. Fast forward time, when I was a mom, my daughter got into theater, and
mm,
my son was too little. He needed me right then. So I just enjoyed it, seeing her blossom and seeing all the kids having a great time. It was wonderful. And I was like, oh, I want to be part of that too. And I wanted so badly to share the stage with her. Um, by the time it was my time um, to try it out, my daughter was already interested in something else. But it was the same person who told me, you should go and just try acting. They had an audition in McKinney, so she said, go for it. So I was like, really? I mean, I've never done this before. I have, my background has nothing to do with theater or anything creative like that. So yeah, it was my daughter who was like, go to auditions, what do you have to lose? And so that was a very teachable moment because I've always been the person who said, yeah, go try it, go do this. But now it was time for me to actually show, what
Yeah.
I had been telling her to do. So I went for it. I was so blessed that the director happened to be an amazing director who's theater professor. His name is Aaron Adair. He took a chance in me because I told him from the very beginning, like, I have no experience. I don't even have a resume, a headshot. What is that? And I'm like, I don't know. But he
Mhm.
gave me a role, and it started with me playing. I played a clown. And
Mm.
the following, yeah, that was so fun. It was so free, and I had such a great time. And by the following play, he allowed me to be his director assistant, which I learned so much. And it was like, that's it. I found the thing. This is the thing. I love it. And throughout those plays, I learned so much from him. And his passion for teaching and theater is just like, I absorbed this so much. And I was like, I found my calling. And
That's
from then on, the rest is history. I just stay on
yeah,
it and I directed or produce, stage manage. So yeah, it
yeah.
was such a, yeah, that's how I started.
So how old were you when you figured that out?
um, I was, okay, that was 5 years ago. So I was about 38. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, late in life, but yeah, I was
No,
like, I love
I
this.
find that inspiring because I think that's an example to people that doesn't really matter how old you are or how young you are to figure out what your calling is. I was just fortunate enough that I was passionate enough in film that I knew what I wanted to do at 16 or 17. But I do find that really inspiring that it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, that at any point the right opportunity can open itself up and you can be exposed to something new and you're just like, I'm gonna pursue that field. I find that really inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's just once I feel like, like you said, once you find your calling, you find your your it,
Yep.
then the passion just comes with it, all that force that, it's you want to make everything possible. And so from them on, it's, you know, if you have that, then you already got, I feel like, about 70-80% of what it takes to actually achieve your goals. The rest is,
Mm.
yeah, you still need to maybe train, you still maybe need to collaborate. I did a lot of volunteering work before I started, getting paid for what I do. But it's been such a wonderful journey. And I know the road is still long ahead, but
Yeah.
if it is something that you when you wake up you're so excited about and you just cannot wait to do more, then you find it, you found it, go for it, keep on going for it, because that's what life is all about, doing
Yeah.
what makes you happy.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say to people who may not have found exactly what they're looking for in their current season of life, despite their current circumstances, whatever it's going on, and they want to find out their niche, something that they're really really good at, but they don't know what that is. What would you say to those people who feel kind of stuck in a box, but want to find something that they're really good at?
I would say just put yourself out there on different things that you might still question if it is the thing that you want to go for in life, but it's still put yourself out there. So maybe if you want to
Yeah.
say, narrate it down to 5 things. Okay, so I'm passionate. I really enjoy these 5 things. So I'm going to try them out. Go from, go put yourself in those situations, ask questions, find the people who's going to support you, and then see if there's something that aligns with what you want to do in your life. And again, don't worry about, but if if it's something that is going to be approved by others, if it is something that is it going to pay my bills? I know that's a big block that we usually have. Um, so just putting yourself out there, and the more you try things on, the more you meet the people who are actually in that arena, then the better you're going to know if this is something that it's your calling, you know. But knowing exactly, I will even take some steps back and say, knowing about yourself also helps,
Mm,
because if you know, for example, that you enjoy, say, being in nature, okay, but you said, but what does that mean, like like, okay, I enjoy being in nature, then what, and but knowing what you like, knowing your limitations also helps, because otherwise you're susceptible to for someone to tell you, well, if you don't know what to do, then just do this, because my cousin, my friend, and I did this and made a lot of money. So we're
yeah.
more kind of vulnerable to be like, okay, okay, I'll do that. But if you know what you like, you know what makes you happy, then you can just narrow it down and be like, okay, I'm going to start with number one, and then I'm going to find that place, that people, and go from there.
Mm,
It's okay. And I will say, you're never late, you're just on time. Once you know what, how to start the journey, you're just right on time. So don't be
mm.
afraid to start.
Yeah. Um, okay. So, what would you say to people who are afraid of the fear of rejection and in any aspect of the word?
Oh yeah, that one is such a, oh, that's such a big mental emotional block for a lot of people. And I will say, even people who have been in a business for a good while, i think eventually I think eventually it gets to the point to where you realize that it is just your life.
Mm,
Everyone is going to have an opinion. Um, but what I've learned in my own journey is that the people who have actually been in that same arena, the one who have gone through all the adversities, through all the challenges, they're going to be the one supporting you. They're not going to be the one rejecting you. They might be giving you constructive criticism, and I will say, take it all, give you advice, but rejection is also redirection. Sometimes those rejection just means that door is not meant to open for you, or not just yet, because there's some lessons that you need to learn before that door opens. And that's totally okay, because when we want to jump too fast, because we want to understand, know it all already, then we might take some things for granted, you know?
mm, yeah.
So just know that rejection is redirection, and what's meant for you, what's in the divine plans, it's going to come your way. Just keep putting yourself out there, but yeah, it's yeah. And especially rejection in this field, it's pretty
Yeah.
strong, but it's just having the self-trust and divine trust too.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked this for more of my, I guess, for my sake, I guess. Um, I'm I'm going to my senior year in college, and I've been looking for more part-time jobs, just to do something because I only go into campus 2 days a week. So just trying to find something else to do on my off days where I'm not on campus. And I've been looking for about a year and a half. So before I even transferred to my current university, and just looking for something part-time. And we're talking about a year and a half later. I've probably submitted over 200 applications for media based jobs, part time jobs, full time, and internships. And this was kind of like my last summer to be able to try to get a summer internship, because after my next academic year, I'm kind of technically done. And after that, I'm graduating with my bachelor's, and then I'll be out in the world, right? So from that sense of it, I've put in a lot of time into applications and interviews. A part of me, as much as I absolutely love this field, is questioning in any aspect if I made the right decision to pursue this field because of the amount of rejection that I faced. Now, in no means am I giving up just because I'm facing those rejections, not at all. However, it has definitely caused me to reevaluate if I made the right decision or if I need to pivot in any sort of way because I don't want to continue doing that if it's not meant for me, but I also
Mm.
don't want to waste my time per se, um, because I know that like my parents are definitely concerned about not being able to get a job out of college, and that is definitely a valid concern. Um, but at some point, I want to pursue this field, like by at all costs. But I just don't know at what point do I, if I need to make a pivot, at what point do I have to do it?
Oh, that makes so much sense. And you're doing a great job by just keep on pushing, you know. But I feel like um, sometimes things are not going to be revealed to us immediately, and and I get it. Sometimes we just want to know, like, can I know now?
Yeah,
But maybe that's what makes life so much more interesting. You know, imagine if we knew everything, because I
yeah,
feel like, and I understand all the challenges and adversities that you're going through, and maybe it's like all the extra patience and time and work that you're putting into it. But I can guarantee you that if you look back at everything that you've been doing so far, there's some lessons there hidden. Things
yeah,
about you, things about that you might, maybe it's about self discovery. This whole thing, it's not, with the idea of like, okay, the job, that's your goal. But perhaps it's all about you discovering yourself, you
mm,
knowing what it takes, discovering and developing that tenacity, and connecting, having those contacts, having those connections. And maybe there's an area that maybe still in the field you're interested, but it's more specific, more specialized, so
mm,
all I can tell is just keep on pushing it, and I know it's the uncertainty that no
yeah,
one likes, and from the personal aspect, what helps me is I would just sit down, and I will recommend sit down, pray, meditate about it, because it's not like it's gonna make, I don't feel like it's gonna make everything, just make it happen like overnight,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it gives a sense of clarity still within myself. I'm the kind of person who thinks, prayer is you talking to God,
yeah,
meditation is you listening. And that has never failed me. And that has been something that sometimes what I get back is you just need to be patient. Things are not meant to be revealed just yet, but keep on pushing, because it's also learning about self-worth
mm,
and developing skills that you're going to need when you get what you're meant to have,
yeah,
you know so all I can say is just keep on pushing.
yeah,
You're on the right spot, so keep on pushing, even if it feels so uncertain and foggy right now, you
yeah.
know
I
and I've
appreciate that.
worked with you. I worked with you. I know you're going to go for it, but there's a deeper lesson here.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, so keep on.
yeah. I appreciate that because it's been quite a challenge, because I I knew that I was called to this field. I knew that God specifically told me to go into this field. And so with this season of I guess waiting on the Lord, and trying to trust in Him in every aspect has been quite challenging because I I want to pursue this. I feel like I've been putting in the time. I've been putting in the effort. Um, I've been applying to all these different places. I've been attending all these interviews, and if these recruiters never contact me back, they're not interested in me, or they just hit me with a rejection email or anything like that. It's definitely frustrating at first, but I think more than that, it's definitely has had me questioning if I really did make the right decision pursuing this field, and if I don't regret anything that I've done up until this point. This is me just kind of second guessing if this current field, the current trajectory which I'm going right now, if that was the right path, and if I need to make a pivot, at what point do I need to do that? Before it's, I don't want to say too late, because I don't think that's the right way to think about it, but I think that I think that the Lord has had me on a specific journey, for this specific season. And I feel like after I kind of like had that word of that confirming word, and I went all in on it, at least within my freshman and sophomore year, I made it a point to reach out to all the different actors, and trying to build up my network. And I had people actually coming my way in ways that I would have never expected. And that was amazing. And now I guess I'm just kind of experiencing, or I'm currently in this season right now, where I'm experiencing what most college graduate students are only experience after they're done with college. Maybe that was on purpose. I really don't know. All I know is that what most people, college students, don't experience until after they graduate and they have to start looking for a job, I just kind of a rude awakening for it much earlier than all my other peers. So that's definitely been an experience, because I'm just like, I don't understand what, like what I'm doing wrong, because I'm like, I'm the type of person where if I'm doing something wrong, I want to be able to pivot as quickly as possible, so that I'm not doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Um, in hopes that something will change. But this has definitely been, um, definitely a challenging season for me right now. So, kind of to tie it back into what you were previously saying, how have you experienced or seen your faith um, help you in this journey in your career?
Oh goodness. It's been a tremendous change. So I went through a phase to where my faith had shaken a bit.
Mm,
Um, it was part of self discovery, but it wasn't until I guess I had to learn about self worth. Very similar to what you're going through, but in my case, it was like feeling the rejection, feeling like I'm trying to give an example, trying to find an agent, trying to find the right support. So sometimes it feels like when you don't have the support from other human beings, from other people, then you have no choice but to turn to, divine guidance,
mm,
divine turn to God. So I'm like, okay, I'm in this spot, very tough spot. And it wasn't a moment when I felt like I might have hit rock bottom before. I mean, again, so it was like, what's going on? I've been working so hard. So, but it wasn't until I started to try to be open minded and open hearted again, about not just, and I started to trust whatever's meant for me, whatever's meant to happen is going to be because, and I asked, please let it be because it's it's approved by you. It's aligned
yeah.
with what I'm meant to do in this life, um and that's when I started seeing more results, when I started asking for divine guidance, sending me, please send me the right people. And it's been amazing. So it seems like the more I have tried to connect, you know with God, it's it's like their opportunities have been happening, doors have been opening. I've been meeting
Mm,
some amazing people that never thought I would meet. We'll have producers that will contact me again and be like, hey, we're doing this project and we would like to have you again and it pays this much. Um, but it didn't happen overnight. There's some stuff that had to change in me, like in different practices, different habits. For example, something that I do, one of many things that I have made a part of my day is that I when I wake up, the first thing I do, I give thanks, and my feet don't touch the floor until I have done that. Having that connection from the very beginning. Doesn't matter what's going to happen in my day. I just establish that divine connection, And sometimes I do it as if I'm talking to a friend, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
And that has changed my, changed the way I see things so much. Um, I used to be the person who say, I've been doing some trips to say Austin, for jobs. And before, Kelly from before would have been like, please protect me, during this trip. Please make sure I'm safe, blah, blah, amen. But now it's like, come be part of this with me.
Yeah.
Please use me as a tool,
Mm.
not necessarily that, it's a commercial, not necessarily it's going to be maybe about God and all this stuff, but use me as a tool,
Mm.
and allow that. That's something I was focused on. Allow that love cannot just come through me. I mean, that from me, but through me.
Yeah.
Like allow me to be a tool in this field, and just I ask for wisdom because there's so much that I'm still learning about myself, about the world, about
Right.
this business. So just having that connection and just talking constantly, it's changed my life so much, and I'm still learning. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been yeah, and that's when doors has been opening for me, and also opportunities for me to set boundaries.
Mm.
I've had experiences in which um, I had to practice saying no and saying this doesn't align with who I am now, doesn't align with um, a person that I'm meant to be now. So thank you for the opportunity, but you know, it's not for me. Thank you. So even those kind of doors that open, sometimes be like, let me close them for you, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like whenever I will say no to that, it's almost like as if another door opened that it had better, bigger opportunities, better pay and all that. So it was like as if God was saying, okay, you were meant to, you needed to set those boundaries. So now let me show you
Right.
what is actually was meant for you. But you needed to make that step. You needed to make that conscious
Yeah.
decision. So
Yeah.
it's been wonderful. I'm still learning, but
Yeah.
that's where I am right now.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I definitely think it's so cool to see how it really pivots. And what I've been learning more within the past 4 to 6 years is, um, it's yes, Christianity is a religion. However, I think more from what we need to see from it is it's more of a relationship do you have with the Father, and that um, you obviously need to treat God with reverence and respect for sure, but He's still a very personal God. As much as you can say, He does this for the vast majority of people, He makes it in an intentional effort to be a very personal God to each of us, and show up in ways that we wouldn't necessarily, other people around us, and even the closest people around us, wouldn't have never shown up for us, but he did for us. And I just find that so beautiful to see how, if we just invite him into everything that we do, what that will look like, and how that can drastically transform the way that we look at life, and the way that he decides to pour into each of us and use us as a vessel, because we are obviously his children, but we're more than that. We're just a tiny piece of the puzzle in the broader um, picture. He's the painter, and we're just a piece on the canvas. And I mean, the same God that aligned all the stars and crafted the entire universe decided that it needed you and needed me. Um, I just find that so amazing because you know I don't know how many other um, big I don't know deities there are out there that people may or may not believe in that can do that. I mean, um, I think one thing that my family has been talking about has been that there is nothing too small and there's nothing too big that our God can't do. And so that's definitely what I've been praying and believing for, that as long as we are faithful to do with uh, faithful with what we are entrusted with, no matter what that is, then He will. And we're putting in the effort, and we're not just like, all right, you gave this to me, and I'm just gonna let you do it. No, I mean, like, we still have to put in the effort. We have to still show up. We still have to put ourselves out there, especially when it's uncomfortable. And I do think that more often than not, He will honor that. It just may take some time, and we're probably gonna have to face a lot of rejection. Because that's currently what I'm dealing with. So, but I'm still not going to throw in the towel just because I'm experiencing a lot of rejection. I'm just using that as an opportunity to um, rely on him more than I typically would on a day-to-day basis. But trusting in him that he is our provider, he's our protector. Um, when we think that the financial provisions aren't going to come through, or any other materialistic provisions aren't going to come through, he will make a way. I think the way that you said it reminded me of that, and I think it was very beautiful the way that you said that. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's been I'm still learning, but this is something. This is why also I always feel called to be in nature. Because this is what I feel like my relationship with him. It's like away from noise, away from any sort of distraction. That's what I can. Just how Jesus did, right? Just he will
Yeah.
go to the mountains. He will go, out in nature. It's interesting because that's exactly what I do, and it's always such a beautiful experience. And whenever I cannot, it's interesting. Whenever I felt like I needed an answer, something that truly really mattered to me, it's interesting that sometimes within days or so, I would meet somebody, on set. Um, I work with a lot of people. I constantly meeting new people, and sometimes all it takes is just this stranger that I might be sharing a scene with that tells me exactly what I had been praying about. They
Mm.
will say the right things, and it's almost like, wait, what? It's like,
Mhm.
how did they, And it
Yeah.
it will be something so casual to them, but it's exactly what I needed to hear. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's divine intervention right there,
Yeah.
and even if it is just a reassurance, it's yeah, God works in beautiful ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what is your outlook and I guess mindset of working in an industry where there really is a lot of darkness, and I feel like people may have not necessarily a bad perception of it, but not necessarily the best overall view of it due to the evil that is obviously there within Hollywood. Um, how do you try to be a light while on set, or just even interacting with people? Like, what is your mindset with that, and how do you try to execute that while you're on set with people, or even when you're just interacting with them?
Well, this is another common practice I do is I I do ask for guidance quite a lot because I still feel like sometimes I don't know what to say, what to do. So before I go into a set or from the moment I get a role, I ask to please use me as a tool to bring awareness, bring wisdom, or bring a source of love. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, just not love that can come from me, but through me, even if it's people that I'm never going to see again, but be some kind of influence. And at the same time, I ask for protection because I I didn't know this about me, but I'm an empath. I tend to feel things pretty strongly. Notice when people are kind of off and all that. So certain kind of vibe kind of really affects me. So having that divine protection, while also being that tool, it's something that I always focus on and I always pray about,
Mm,
and that has helped a lot. Having those boundaries, like I said earlier, also helps because it's so easy, and I've already been tested this twice. It's so easy to say like, "Ooh, this one pays so well," but it requires me to do something that it doesn't align with who I am
yeah,
now, that doesn't honor, God and all that. So it could be tempting. So, but knowing like, this is not who I am. That's okay. I'm not going for fame. I'm not going for money. I know exactly what I'm doing here. My role is to hopefully bring a perspective in people's lives through acting. If I can embody, if I can be the voice of the ones who don't have a voice right now, if I can actually bring awareness. When I did a youth production, since I've been so lucky that whether I've written or edited some scripts, um, I'm able to add a bit of that piece of wisdom of, humanity into it. So every time I get the chance to do that, then I know it's aligned with who I am now. If it is
mm,
something that is totally opposite, and I said, thank you, but this is not for me. I'm sure you'll find someone else who will take it. But that's not my life purpose right now,
yeah,
So having those things set really helps. It's like having a plan, you know that what you're going to allow, having those standards, having those values really matters from the very beginning. Because it's something that I shared in my one recently in my page, is that otherwise, if you don't have those set, then someone might set them for you, and it's going to be so easy to be tempted because the money, or the amount of money they pay, or the possibility of working with this Hollywood star, has actually happened to me. But I was like, this is not who I am. Maybe it might have worked when I was, 10 years ago or
yeah,
something, but not right now. So just this is how you keep your light going. You keep on being the light. And I know I'm just one person. It's not like I can change the whole industry. But
right,
if we all were to make those little changes, this is how we bring the light again.
yeah,
That's what I think.
absolutely. Yeah, I think at least with my specific journey, I found out that this is what I wanted to do when I felt like the Lord specifically told me that the entertainment industry is the exact place where I was supposed to be. And the reason for that was because I had went in 2023 when it was in my freshman year. I went to go watch Oppenheimer by myself, and that was probably the first movie I'd ever seen by myself. Every other time was either with my dad or my parents, or even with my family. So it was like my first time ever seeing it by myself, and it had come out in September or October ish, and around that time um, they were releasing previews for horror movies, and I don't like horror movies. I don't like to get scared intentionally or anything like that. And so that was already interesting in itself. But the two previews that they had played were The Nun 2 and then The Exorcist. And because I was already pretty turned off by the horror factor of it, I wasn't even looking. I was just looking on my phone. But even like the audio from it was so jarring because I'm like, this is terrifying. Um, but what I found was, and more than that, um, I noticed how because they had to do something with religion and with Christianity, they were openly mocking God in the trailers itself. Not even because it wasn't even the movies itself; it was the trailers. And to me, that really struck a nerve with me. And so when I got into my car after the movie, I just kind of sat there for a minute. I was definitely a little shaken up still, but more than that, I was actually kind of upset because I was like, they're openly mocking God, the same God that saved me from when I was depressed and I had anxiety and I was suicidal. That's the same God that saved me, and so and they're openly mocking it. And the thing about the entertainment industry, and even with the world in general, I think what we often as believers may or may not always keep on the forefront of our minds is that this is not our permanent home. Um, you know, if we do end up in heaven, we'll be in eternity with the Father. And so in that time period, we are. I mean, this is kind of like the devil's playground. I mean, he does whatever he wants whenever he wants. And in that time, in that space, if you look at all the different religions across the entire world, I mean, what's the most attacked religion out there? It's Christianity. And why is that? Because it's the truth. And what is the enemy not like? The truth. So to me, that really struck a nerve with me because I'm just like, okay, you're not only mocking it, but you're not even hiding it anymore. At some point, people were trying to do it in the shadows or anything like that, and I'm sure that they still are. But now it's like they're being so open about it, and that really, really affected me. And I'm just like, okay, as much as that was an interesting experience, I was definitely like, God showed me in that moment that was exactly why I was called to the entertainment field, because people needed to be reminded that there is still light in something like TV and movies, something that we see and watch every single day, and that God created all of this, and we need to remind people that there is still light out there, and God is the one who created all of it. It's just the enemy who's just perverting it, you know. And it's up to us, especially as His children and the vessels that He's created us to be, to help fix other people's eyes back onto the one who created it all, and that's Jesus. And if we don't do that, then what's the purpose of us being here in the first place? I mean, personally, I want to see heaven incredibly populated, and I want to make sure that I do everything that I can to make sure that I was able to impact somebody's life through my story and my testimony in any capacity. And if that means that I have to go out of my way and do something that is not the conventional route, because this is not a conventional route, especially within my family. What if that is the route that I'm supposed to take? Then that is what I'm going to do. So I definitely resonate with what you were saying, because I think that is something that is really needed nowadays. So yeah,
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. This is why, yeah, I agree 100% with you. There's a reason why we are put in certain paths, or
yeah,
some people are, we get to see some people's behavior, certain circumstances, because it's supposed to awaken something in us to
mhm,
be the change that we want to see in the world. Because if we just rely on someone else to do the change, then it might not happen. But it's
yeah,
just, even if it is through a short film, bringing awareness, you're still gonna be changing people's lives, and then say, even if 5 people see it, but those 5 people can go and spread word about it and all that, and then all that goes on and on and on and on.
yeah,
So it's a matter of just also finding the right people that aligns with those values, so they can make all that happen. And there's
Yeah.
been times when I have said, as an actress, I have said no to some films because it didn't have these values that I have. And I said yes to some that pay nothing, because, but those aligned with, you
Yeah.
know, who I'm meant to be, who I am now too. So it's, we're constantly making those choices because ultimately it's, how are we going to leave this world before our
Mm,
time is up? So, and that's something that as a mom, I started realizing more. It's like eventually I'm not going to be here. So, what am I leaving behind? Not just for my kids, for my grandkids, great grandkids, not for Kelly Bazan to be remembered, but to just leave this world in a better place,
yeah.
you know? So yes, keep on doing, keep on pushing it, friend.
Yeah. I thank you. Appreciate that. That reminded me of a quote from Black Panther. Um, one second. um, I believe the quote was uh, to T'Challa's father was talking to him right before he passed away. He said, "A man who has not prepared his own children for his own death has failed as a father." And I thought that was interesting because I have actually feel like I've been seeing that a lot more within the past 4 to 6 years. Because my dad, especially as I've been getting older, has definitely been trying to impart a lot of wisdom to me. Because he says, and I'm learning more, that after him, I'm the man of the house. And so in the event, or even when like my dad goes on a work trip or anything like that, I'm the man of the house. And so I've been learning more about that because I think there's a lot that plays into what we leave with our children and the future generations, and making sure that we have set them up so that when we are no longer there to hold their hand or guide them, that we have laid that specific foundation for them so that they can go out and achieve greatness, even though we're not there to watch their every move. I think that's great that you're doing that right now.
Thank you. Yeah, this is one of the reasons I still enjoy doing educational presentations or
Mm,
directing because, the younger generation is still need us. Even if we feel like some things in the world are just, are going crazy. I would think I try not to pay attention to what's in the news. My dad used to actually be a reporter.
mm,
And he would always say, don't look at the news. It's all exaggerated. So, it's all propaganda. So, and I also work very hard to be a very positive person. So, news, social media is something that doesn't align with that. But going back to the topic, it's, even if, there's crazy stuff happening in the world, we still need to make sure we focus on those younger generations, because they still need us. So even through film, acting, or for me, like directing them, it's still leaving those impacts. As a matter of fact, it's interesting. I was at the school just this past week. I was at the school where I did my internship and residency, and I was just doing these, my educational outreach there through my farm, and just walking through the school was so beautiful, and it reminded me that not too long ago, actually, I was, went to the doctor for a checkup, and the lady who was the receptionist there was actually an old pre-K student of mine.
mm,
And yes, and it was interesting because her face looked so familiar. I mean, last time I saw her, she was like five or so, and now she's,
yeah.
all grown, but she remembered me and she's like, "Oh, Miss Kelly." And anyhow, she was telling me she's a medical student now. She's all going, she has things planned for her life and whatnot. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy for you and all that. And interesting enough, she said, and I appreciate that you took a chance in me and you helped me so much. And part of me was like, did I? Oh, I was like, oh, thank you. And then it all came back to me. She was a student who didn't know any English at all, and I had to get her all caught up to with everything. And just as I was teaching her the academic stuff, we also talked about different things in life and just encouraging her. Especially, I understand what is all the cultural clash. You come from one
Yeah.
culture and then you move to another culture, and it's like everything is so different. So just kind of guiding her, telling her things about life, but in a way that a 5-year-old could understand. And she told me
Yeah.
that she remembered everything. So I was like, oh, like, thank you, but it's one of those things that I needed to hear that, because it makes me even more mindful that when I'm directing, when I'm doing those educational outreach, that I'm still making an impact, even if they're little, even if I'm like, they don't remember, I'm just giving us a good time. I'm just, we're doing display or I'm telling about the farm. They still remember those things. They still, you know, and we tend to remember how people make us feel,
Yeah.
and those life lessons that really stays in. So yeah, that was such a
Yeah.
neat experience.
Yeah. That's awesome because I still remember like my old Sunday school teachers. I mean, there's one that I think will always probably stick out to me. He started a while ago. I mean, this is like 10 or so years ago. He had started a program called J8, and it was the purpose behind it was the main scripture was forgot the specific one, but it was in Second Timothy, whereas do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, um, but instead be an example to the believers. And the purpose of J8 was um, J standard for Josiah when he was crowned king at 8 years old. And so I remember going through that program and just feeling so empowered by that the guy that taught it, and I still to this day am trying to express my gratitude to him because um, it really left a lasting impact on me. To know that there is no required age or minimum age where we need to be in order for the Lord to use us. Like, and even when when I was in middle school and high school, I was at a house church, and so um, one of the things that the pastors were teaching us was that there was no such thing as a junior holy. There was no such thing as a junior Holy Spirit. There was, it's not like you get to a certain age and that's when you receive the Holy Spirit. No, I mean like we all have the same Holy Spirit inside of us, and so we experienced people my age, and I had a really close friend that was speaking prophecy to my dad. And at the time, my dad was in his, I want to say in his 40s. And later, the same thing that my close friend had spoken about my dad was confirmed again by another pastor months later. And so to see how, it was that same word was used as a confirming word kind of just reiterated for me that there's no minimum age where you need to be in order for the Lord to use us, but for us to want to help the future generation. So I mean, even with the short film that we had previously worked on, I had made it a point to reach out to. I had three close family friends who were still in middle school and high school, and I noticed that they had a specific talent and eye for filmmaking and cinematography and photography. And I just noticed that they had an eye for it. And And I saw them, and I saw that this was like a perfect opportunity for them, because I wish I look back on myself and I'm like, if I had these types of opportunities back when I was their age, it would have made my decision about what career path I wanted to do so much easier. So I made it a point to definitely ask them and ask, and to coordinate with them to make sure that they were able to come on set with us. And so that was definitely such a great experience. And to see how, if we were given the right opportunities to help and kind of facilitate an environment where it's a safe space, and we are able to um, have people learn and just try new things, it's probably going to help them a lot more than we ever expected on our end. Or we're just like, oh, we're just creating this space. Because if I had those opportunities at that age, it really would have made my decision and my experience so much easier than what it currently was. So yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying, especially because imparting the wisdom that we have received, um, to the future generation is, I feel like, everything that the Lord has been trying to impart to me within the past few years. I really agree and resonate with what you're saying about that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm very blessed that I get to work with kids, and animals, because I feel like they have some of the purest form of love.
Mm,
Kids are still going to be kids, and but and I feel like because their heart, it's so pure, so full of love, and they don't have complex emotions like we have. We, as we grow, we experience shame, jealousy, and different things. Their heart is more pure, so I feel like they tend to have this, they actually have that connection with God better because their heart is just full of love. It's almost like they can receive the message so much better. And there's been times when I've worked with kids and they've just said or done the right thing, especially, there's times when things happen in life, or sometimes we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and
right.
just getting a hug from a kid just randomly. I just met them that day, that moment, and they just come and give me a hug and say, I love you. I'm like, that's what
Yeah.
I needed to hear. It's just the timing. It's like, who would have thought? It's like those, yeah, divine intervention.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
It's crazy how God can work like that, where it's like in ways we could have never expected or imagined, but He knew that we needed that certain thing. Um, yeah. And I do think that there's something so beautiful about the purity of children. Um, and I think, in the Gospels, they talk about how, Jesus' disciples, were trying to, like, um, what's the word? Kind of just like protecting Jesus, and um, not allowing the crowd to come to him, but he had said, "Let the children come to me." And I just find that so beautiful, because, I think that that children have that level of purity, and they have that level of curiosity, that I think, and wonder, that, as like you said, as we get older, we experience hurt, we experience pain and suffering, that we lose that sense of wonder and joy that you are not even aware of as a kid. And so when you see stuff like that, you just want to make sure that they're as protected as possible from the world, because you don't want them to experience the same level of pain, that you experience. But, life is life. They're not going to avoid it forever. But, you doing whatever you can in whatever capacity to show that, um, you you care for them, and that you are trying your best to facilitate an environment, for these children. And so that kind of leads into something I've been thinking about for like the past 3 episodes. Um, I had a class assignment that was the final project was to basically create a 4 hour course that you are teaching something. And so I decided to do mine about filmmaking 101. How did I go from concept, from pre production to post production to final edit? And for a complete beginner, what would that look like? And it actually got me thinking because personally, I don't like giving credit to um, college classes because it's just been an experience. But um, with that, it definitely got me thinking about how I would definitely like to be able to create a mentorship program for kids, even in starting in middle school, high school, and even in college, um, to help people figure out what they want to do. Because I feel like when they're right out of high school, there's too much pressure on high school kids to figure out what they want to do as soon as they get out. I definitely think that it doesn't even have to be a full gap year. It can be uh, a weekend thing or a summer camp or something like that. But at least within the creative space, because I've been fortunate enough to build up those connections with a lot of different amazing people to see what that could potentially lead into between video production, screenwriting, music production, acting, anything within that creative space, anything that I've been fortunate enough to be able to connect with. I just feel like it actually got the gears turning for me because I'm just like, I guess that actually be a good opportunity for me to do something like that for people. Where if that type of opportunity was around for me at that age, it would have my life would have been so much easier and better to really figure out what I want to do and what I absolutely do not want to do. Because I think it's important to know how what you do want to do, even though it is definitely a hard thing to do, but especially what you absolutely do not want to do and what you're okay with doing. I think my
Right.
dad has been trying to teach that to me for quite some time. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought
That's
that was
very
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah, you should definitely do it. I will advise, if I may, I will say focus a lot on, and this is something kids already teach us, but it wasn't until neuroscience have caught up to it. Play, the
Mm,
art of playing. There's so much research that shows that actually playing allows our brain to rewire to be more creative, because not only releases the stress but allows us to put ourselves in different situations. It makes us more empathic as well, and allows us to just think on our feet, to be flexible,
mm,
and also just to have fun. Like, actually, I was reading somewhere that stress is actually number one cause of death in the United States. And as
huh,
we grow, and especially, I know once, kids hit high school and whatnot, there's the pressure that they need to perform or have things figured out before they head to college. So by then, they have forgotten about what play is all about. And research is coming pretty strongly saying how viral that is. And that could be as simple as, you might know that, I do improv comedy because it's a form of playing. It allows me to just stop overanalyzing, stop overthinking, and just be present, and allows
mm,
me to just be flexible and laugh at, goofy scenarios, and just have fun with others. And that allows you to connect with others as well. And every time, actually, I came from a class, before our meeting today, and it's just, I was planning for my upcoming week. I was already like, go, 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 before that class. And after the class, it's like, oh, everything is great. Okay, no worries, things will work out. So that's something that I will highly encourage for anyone that it's fortunate to work with kids, and that's a way that they also get to trust you. That's something that I do when I direct a play. I have to make sure that we focus about 40% on improv. We do
Mm.
different games. They are allowed to make mistakes, and we celebrate them, we cheer them on, and just focusing on creating different scenarios in which allows them to connect with each other, to trust themselves, not just within themselves but among themselves. And it's been amazing. There's been some kids who might have never done theater before, but the fact that they're allowed to just be free to make
Mhm.
mistakes, and we celebrate those mistakes, it's been amazing to just see the drastic change, and then they're hooked. They're open to just, you know, be themselves, and that's
Yeah,
such an amazing gift that you can offer to kids, whatever topic is that you're doing, you're teaching. It's wonderful. So I will say, if you can incorporate play there, it's perfect.
yeah, that's great. That's a good thing to keep in mind if I ever decide to do that. I don't really know if that's within the near future for me, but definitely it's a to good thing to keep in mind. So thank you. Um, yeah. Um, let's see
Yeah,
what
there's
else.
something. So I don't know if I told you, but my actual degree is in education. So, and since I would always be so curious about psychology. It wasn't until I got towards my last semester, when I met this teacher who, she was all about playing. It was all about play, the art, the science of playing. And she's the one who introduced us about all the research about how important is playing, and how you just, not only you can heal other kids, but heal your inner child,
Mhm.
and that's a wonderful gift you can offer to others as well.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I don't even like even. I just that's really interesting because I've been I've I think I've always loved Legos as a kid. Um, I remember getting my first set for I want to say for my 6th birthday, and I guess I just love the ability to just build whatever you wanted, and you could break it apart and try again, build something completely different. Um, and I guess the more or the older I got, especially through middle school and high school, and the different hurt that I experienced through friendships and school, I had kind of just strayed from that. And then it was kind of interesting. I guess after I got into college and I started to work a little bit here and there, I realized that like I had adult money, and I could really just go out and do whatever I wanted. So outside of hanging out with friends and doing whatever activities, going out to dinner, anything like that, like there wasn't really anything stopping me from going to the Lego store and buying a new Lego set, and for me to just chill out and watch something and build something at the same time. Because and then I forgot about how much joy that brought me, especially, and it reminded me of when I was a kid, just building Lego sets with my older sister. Uh, I mean, to receive a Lego set and to open it up for the first time and then to build it and to see that final product, I like completely forgot about that feeling because it felt like so long. And I'm like, wait, nothing's actually stopping me from doing this myself. It just took me to get some money. So I definitely think that's interesting, because I think
And
everybody has the inner child that in some way they want to relive those moments, even though they or go back in time to experience that joy and that level of like innocence where you're unaware of the problems of the world, but you're still under the protection of your parents or whatever. And so I find that
yeah.
it's interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned a key word is joy, because ultimately that's what it is. Being an adult, isn't it interesting, by the way, that when we're little, we couldn't wait to be adults,
Yep.
and now that we're adults, it's like, could we go back? That
Yep.
was so nice. But
Yep.
it allows us to. just remember what simple things gives us joy,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to get caught up on being an adult, and but yeah, my social media, sometimes when I log in, I follow a lot of stuff, people that or pages that is all about, if it is not acting related, it's about, goofy stuff, people doing acts of kindness or things that brought them joy. And it could be
Mm.
as simple as, they're outside dancing in the rain. It could be this old couple, but it is just the joy that
Yeah.
we get so caught up on following, what society tell us to do, or how much
Mm.
money we need to make, or what kind of car we need to be driving, or how our house needs to be, when ultimately it's in our nature, as human beings, for us, we require joy.
Mm.
That makes us resilient. That makes us, and actually, science, research supports that it makes us actually, it influences our nervous system and how susceptible we are to illnesses. So
Mm.
of course there's the aspects of, you need to still eat healthy, sleep well and whatnot. But when we are happy, genuinely happy, not pretend happy, but genuinely happy, we tend to be more resilient to stress. We tend to just even when obstacles or rejection might come our way, it's like it's okay because I have this thing or these things that actually make me happy, whether
Mm.
it's Lego set, whether it's an activity with your family or out in nature, whatever it is.
Right.
And all goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, knowing who you are.
Mm.
Like in this case, know what makes you happy, like generally happy. Um, but it's a happiness that comes from inside you, that
Mm.
you don't need. And especially you find that not something that you need, you might need an item to be happy because, material stuff comes and goes, but something
Yeah.
that maybe is an act of kindness. That's another thing that when you see what you did has made someone happy, has influenced somebody, it's like nothing can take that away from you. It's
Yeah.
anyone can tell you anything, but you already have, you're glowing because you know what it feels like to be happy because you made
Mm.
someone happy. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
amazing feeling.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's so beautifully said. Um, yeah. Okay. So, um, I guess as we slowly wrap up, um, what exactly is next for you? What's in the cards for you within, I guess, in the foreseeable future for the rest of the year? Just more acting gigs. What does that look like for you?
Well, I have my own personal plan, which is continue on growing and learning. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn, to collaborate, to, keep on working. Ultimately, I know it's going to be whatever God has in store for me.
Yeah.
Um, and because I have set those standards, those values, I'll know what is aligned with, God's plan and whatnot. And
Yeah.
whatever is meant to happen for me, I'll know it and I'll say yes. So I'm just
Yeah.
open, whatever. And I always say to my friends, if the universe is like tells me, opens a door for me, I'm ready. But I
Mm.
also know what comes from God and whatnot,
Yeah.
and I'll be ready to respond based on that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
so we'll
great.
see. I don't even know. We'll see what's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. That's interesting because there's a quote from Night at the Museum where um, the Ben Stiller's character asked Robin Williams. He said, "I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow," because I think he had just lost his job as the night guard, and then Robin Williams said, "How exciting!" Like it's pretty much like the world is our oyster, and we can do pretty much like whatever we want as long as it's obviously realistic enough, and then as long as we know the right people, we have the right connections, and we have the time for it. I mean, we can really do whatever we want. I mean, I just find it so cool to see how people can really change their entire lives within 6 to 12 months, and how what they were once thinking and dreaming about, say like with a business, can really be turned around that quickly within 6 to 12 months. So that's really cool because I feel like I've been trying to do that with myself as well within this current season right now. So
So see,
yeah,
and keep on, like I said, I know I'm sound like a broken record, but like I said, just keep on pushing yourself, keep on trying and exploring different areas, because sometimes all the lessons have to do about self-worth,
yeah,
because like I was saying earlier, it's all about you knowing once you are in the field that you want to be in, you're still going to be facing challenges and adversities, but you knowing, since you know yourself, you'll know, okay, what I'm going to say yes to, what doesn't align, and be able to speak up for yourself. There's also the divine trust,
mm,
knowing that things are still going to work out
yeah,
regardless, and that's what makes life so beautiful, because
yeah,
we don't have to know everything, but yet we trust that everything will be okay. I know it's
yeah,
we're in a timeline where we have a question, we pull out, we grab out our phone, whether you Google it or whatever source you use, and it's boom, so we want to know it now,
yeah,
but sometimes some things are not meant to for us to know immediately, which makes us appreciate when they come and the way they come. So
mm,
I don't know, it's fascinating.
yeah. It really is. Yeah. So I like to end with two specific questions. One is, what do you think throughout your entire life is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Ooh. Okay. Oh boy, I've been so blessed to receive so many. But I would say just as simple as just trust yourself, because it's
Mm,
so easy to get distracted with the outside noise, with what I'm supposed to be doing, and trying to. I always wanted to be, the good daughter. I wanted to be the good student, so I was will do things to please those adults in my life. But even if sometimes deep down I felt like this is not what I want to do, this is not what I'm meant to be, so there's a part of trusting yourself, that and listening to yourself, I guess, too, that go for what your heart is telling you to do. There's a
mm,
reason what there's a voice in your head is telling you to just listen to it, go for it. I guess that
yeah,
was more than one more advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And the last thing is, if you were to leave one message for the future generation, what would that be?
I would say be the light for yourself and for others. Sometimes you need to be your own light to light your path, but it's
Mm,
the same light that is going to illuminate someone else's path, and they need you. You're needed. That's maybe your life goal, or your life purpose. So just be your be the light that this world needs, whatever
mm,
form that might be.
yeah,
Whatever career, whatever that might look like. Just make sure you're the light.
yeah, that's beautiful. Um, yeah, mm, yeah, that's great. Uh, I like to. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we were able to finally get this on the books and finally able to do that. It was, I mean, you were probably one of
Yes.
the first people I reached out to when I was looking out for a bunch of these episodes. So I'm glad that we were able to finally do it. I mean, the advice and the bits of wisdom that you were giving were phenomenal. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been such an honor to be part of this. And I'm so thankful that you thought of me. I've always enjoyed working with you. I know we did the two short film things.
Mhm.
And, it's always been a blast working with you and just seeing you grow and, going after what, you want in life. And I just know that, you know, big things are going to come your way, just trust the path, and keep on having that connection with God. And soon
Yeah.
enough, everything will reveal and everything will make sense. So yeah, big things are coming your way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
And
Well, I like to close out every episode with a blessing from number 624 through 26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the love and support throughout this entire process and this journey of me starting this podcast. I've seen a lot more fruit than I've ever experienced from consistent content like this. So this has been amazing for me to see this. Definitely go check Kelly's social medias. It is in the description down below. But thank you guys so much for the support. Definitely like and subscribe and follow along for the journey. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.